great pleasure right now to welcome to the program author of a fascinating book, and it kind of is touching a nerve, getting a lot of notoriety out there, because apparently on December 21st, 2012, something may happen. The name of the book is called The 12. We're joined by William Gladstone today, and he's out in the beautiful state of Oregon today. How are you, William?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I look forward to chatting a little bit about The 12 and letting your listeners know right away that December 21st, 2012 is going to be a good day, not a bad day.
I hope so. I think this might be similar, and correct me if I'm wrong, but remember at the end of 1999 they were saying all the computers were going to go haywire on the first day of 2000, so
right.
I guess they're predicting something similar. This has to do with the Mayan calendar, right?
Yeah, this has to do with the Mayan calendar, and the difference is the Mayan calendar, unlike the Gregorian calendar, is actually based on astronomical events. It has to do with the planets, it has to do with the sun, it has to do with the alignment of the galaxy. So something real will happen on December 21st, 2012. The only difference in my view, which is shared by many of the Mayan elders and the Mayan scholars, is that it won't necessarily be catastrophic. You have a lot of people out there that picked up on Nostradamus and other predictions, revelations of the end of the world coming at or about this time. And many world cultures have predicted and prophesied a kind of, second coming or something, destructive around this time. So there's something in our culture and in the ethos and in the air, if you will, pointing to this date. And when you look at the Mayan calendar, which is the most accurate calendar any human civilization has ever created, I do believe that something actually will occur on December 21st, 2012. However, where I differ is I think it's going to be something relatively subtle, and that what December 21st, 2012 really is a doorway for human transformation, and that it has to do with human free will and human choice. And it's more than anything like a big alarm clock going off and saying it's the start of a new era, start of a new day.
The title of your book, of course, called The 12. Was that the idea to write a book about this at this particular time, or did you kind of have a story in mind before that?
There's a story. The story actually came to me in 1979. It was based on an actual incident where I met a woman who had a near-death experience, and in the near-death experience had been given 12 names. She remembered who these 12 people were, and she became like the character Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in which she was totally obsessed with finding these people. I met her. I was impressed with the story she told, particularly because I actually had had a near-death experience myself at the age of 15, in which I too had been given 12 names, though fortunately for me, I did not remember the names. And I say fortunately because, if you don't know who you're looking for, you don't really have to change or alter your life, and I didn't. When I met her, I sort of had this idea of a film that would combine her version of the event with what I actually experienced. And I wrote a film treatment way back in 1979, and then things progressed, and, we became aware that 2012 was really an important date, and that the story of the 12, which, by the way, is a story in almost every major religion and world civilization. Of course, everyone knows about the 12 apostles. There's also the 12 lost tribes of Israel. You have the 12 Knights of the Round Table. The number 12 itself, you have obviously the zodiac and the astrological signs. You also have the 12 gods of Olympus. Even in other cultures, you have the 108 is the most sacred number of the Hindus, which is 9 times 12. Among the Mayan even, you have the 12 princes of Ixalba. So you can go and explore, as I have done. I have degrees from Harvard and Yale, and I've studied cultural anthropology. And I was fascinated by the legends of the 12 and the belief that there's 12 souls who carry the destiny of the world within their being. And so the premise of the novel was that if an individual were gifted with the names of the 12 who had to be reunited to save the world, what would happen? And that's the basic fundamental plot line. And then I've combined it with the beliefs around 2012. And it was only after I wrote the novel that Mayan scholars and other people came to me and actually told me that the version that I have created is very close to what their ancient prophecies have actually stated.
Wow.
Which was really amazing to me.
That's unusual.
Quite gratifying.
Yeah, that must be, because 30 years before, or actually almost 40 years before, you've written it.
Yeah, and there's things that I didn't know at the time I was writing the novel that I've learned subsequently subsequent to writing the novel that I've actually learned a lot by reading my own novel, The 12, which, I don't know if that happens to many authors, but it's happening to me, and I'm still learning things as readers pick up the book. And I've had such an amazing, some of the early reviews on the book have been beyond anything that, I could have written myself, of just people, really loving the book and feeling that their own lives have been changed.
That's great. I think that's what makes novels interesting. You get right into the characters right away, and they're visual like that, and they're based somewhat on real people. I think people can relate to that quicker, don't you think?
Absolutely. And one of the other things that was very important, even though I didn't know who the actual 12 was, there really may be truth to the legend of the 12. And I specifically chose people that I had met throughout my travels. So the number 1 of the 12 is a 20-year-old woman in Trujillo, Peru. Number 2 is a production coordinator, 45-year-old former Israeli colonel in Jerusalem. Number 3 is a keeper of the 15th century of the museum in New Delhi, India. The 4th is a travel agent woman in Japan. And these are all real people. And one of the points that I'm really desirous of getting across to my readers is, in your own life, you do not know who really is essential to your own development and perhaps to a larger plan. So whether it's some homeless person that you pass on the street, or your boss, or the owner of a restaurant, anyone could play a vital role. And I think that we're much more connected to each other than we've ever realized before. And I'm hoping that just that level of awareness will come through in a natural story, which the 12 is, to help people better relate to the reality of what really matters in this day and age, where we are faced as a human species really with survival issues. I don't think the world's going to end on December 21st, 2012, but I do believe that if we don't start treating ourselves and our planet with greater awareness, we are headed, certainly by the year 2050 for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, to a planet that will not be nearly as hospitable as the planet we've enjoyed today.
You make a good point that whether you believe in 2012 or whatever, we're in definitely another transition stage like we were in the early part of the 1900s, again, the middle of the century, the late 60s was another period, and now again this part of our history. We're in a change no matter what the date is, I think, right?
I've been talking with scientists as well, and the scientists are telling us, hey, we're at a tipping point here. It may not be December 21st, 2012, but there are certain systems, whether you're talking about the ecology or the economy or the politics or health issues or educational issues, we have to make some major changes in the way that we're treating each other and the systems that we're supporting, because some of these systems no longer are functional. And, we just pretend, we'll just keep, we'll keep tweaking this and tweaking that and everything will be all right. That actually is not a sound strategy. We do have to make some radical changes if we're going to have a world in which all 7 billion human beings that are on the planet right now are going to actually be able to live comfortable, joyful lives.
Well, it's a fascinating premise. Again, this is the name of the book is called The 12. We've been talking with William Gladstone, and I know it just came out, William, but have you had any options on it yet for film? Or I guess maybe it's too early, right?
There's a film option already.
That's great.
I do encourage people to go to www.12thebook.com. We have a little video which will give your listeners a little background on the book.
www.12thebook.com, and they get more information there. Great. Well, William, I appreciate you taking a few minutes. I know you've been doing a lot of these, but I know our audience down here is interested in this, and we look forward to talking to you again.
I hope we get a chance, and when the film comes out, but Florida's a great place to sit on the beach and read The 12.
William Gladstone, the name of it is The 12. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us.